Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, if you think about the great literary villains, Mr. Hyde has to be right up there.
Oh, absolutely. Near the top.
But what's so chilling about him isn't just the violence. It's how everyone reacts to him, this universal, almost instinctive repulsion.
Yeah, it's unexplained. People in the story, ordinary folks, educated doctors, they all feel this immediate, visceral loathing. No reason given, just pure gut feeling.
Exactly. And that's a great hook, right? Because it tells you this isn't just about a hidden bad guy. It's about something inherently evil made real.
Mm-hmm. So our mission today, basically, is to follow the clues the paper trail left behind. We've got the lawyer Utterson's careful investigation.
Right.
Then there's Dr. Lanion's terrified account.
Which is quite something.
And finally, the big one, Dr. Henry Jekyll's own confession. That's where we get the answers. Or, well, his answers.
So let's start with our guide through this whole mess, Mr. Utterson. He's set up as this pillar of Victorian London, isn't he? Austere, quiet.
But tolerant. There's that great line the source mentions, "I incline to Cain's heresy. I let my brother go to the devil in his own way."
Yeah, he sticks by people even when they're heading downhill. And that very tolerance is about to be seriously tested.
Oh, definitely. It all kicks off when Utterson's out walking with his cousin, Richard Enfield. They're on a perfectly nice London street, prosperous looking, and then bam, this really sinister, neglected building just ruins the vibe.
With that one horrible door.
That single door, yeah. Blistered and disdained, the text says. It just screams wrong. It's like a visual cue for Jekyll's hidden life,
And Enfield has this odd story connected to that exact door.
Right. He saw this little man who we find out is Hyde, literally trampled, just walk right over a young girl calmly.
That's horrifying. Enfield calls him a damn juggernaut.
He does. But the key thing, again, is the crowd's reaction. Everyone there, including a doctor, they instantly feel, well, the book says sick and white with desire to kill him.
Wow. Not just anger, but this primal urge.
It's exactly. A unified moral disgust. It's immediate.
In Hyde, this creature who inspires murder on sight, he wants to avoid a scandal. So he offers money.
A lot of money. £100, which was a fortune then. And here's the first real twist. He goes into that awful building using a key, comes back out, and the check he gives him, it's signed by Dr. Henry Jekyll.
A respectable doctor. And the check is good.
Perfectly good. Cashed without issue.
So Utterson now knows this. This monster is somehow tied financially to his close friend Jekyll. But the real kicker is waiting for him back in his safe, isn't it?
The will, yeah. Utterson, being a lawyer, he's already uneasy about this will Jekyll asked him to hold. He thinks it's improper, maybe even disgraceful.
And what does it say?
It leaves everything to Edward Hyde. Not just if Jekyll dies, but also if Jekyll has a disappearance or unexplained absence for any period exceeding 3 calendar months.
Okay, that disappearance clause. Why is that so much worse for Utterson than just death?
Well, think about it. It suggests Jekyll planned for a scenario where he might just vanish, cease to be himself. While this Hyde character legally inherits everything, it's not just death. It feels like a kind of calculated self-destruction, or maybe being replaced.
So the fiend who trampled the child is now the legally designated heir if Jekyll simply disappears.
Precisely. Utterson's vague unease turns into real dread. This knowledge replaces his earlier ignorance, as the text puts it. The link is terrifyingly concrete now.
And that pushes him to investigate. He starts hanging around that street, watching the door.
If he be Mr. Hyde, he says, I shall be Mr. Seek. He's determined now.
He finally gets his wish. He meets Hyde. What's the description like?
It's deeply unsettling. Hyde is described as small, kind of dwarfish, pale. He has this displeasing smile, a sort of broken, husky whisper for a voice.
Okay.
But the weirdest part is that Utterson can't quite pin down what's wrong with his appearance. He feels a deformity, but can't see one. He ends up calling him hardly human, something troglodytic.
Troglodytic, like a caveman.
Yeah, primitive. He even says he sees Satan's signature on his face, but there's no specific physical flaw he can point to. It's a feeling of evil, of wrongness.
Which is maybe even scarier than a visible monster. And it raises that question. If Hyde is Jekyll's hidden evil, why is he small and underdeveloped? Why not some huge, powerful brute?
Jekyll explains it later, but Utterson is sensing it here. The idea is that Jekyll lived most of his life as a respectable, controlled person. His good side was well-exercised, dominant.
So the evil part, when separated, was weaker, less developed.
Exactly. Less robust, Jekyll says. It hadn't had as much practice, you could say. So Hyde is physically smaller, younger even. Utterson is essentially looking at concentrated evil, but in a stunted form.
Utterson then goes to Jekyll, right? Confronts him about this.
He does. And Jekyll's the complete opposite. Large, well-made, smooth-faced man of 50. Total respectability.
And how does Jekyll react?
He gets defensive, calls the situation strange, very peculiar, but insists he's in control. I can be rid of Mr. Hyde whenever I choose, he claims.
Which clearly isn't true, or becoming less true.
Seems like it. And then he makes Utterson promise, really insists that if Jekyll, is taken away, Utterson will make sure Hyde gets his rights, inherits everything according to the will.
He's trying to manage the fallout, even as he's losing control. You can feel the desperation under the surface.
Absolutely. And that control just snaps about a year later. Yeah. The Carew murder case.
Ah, yes, the murder. Sir Danvers Carew, a well-respected gentleman, an MP brutally killed in the street.
And witnessed by a maid. She sees Hyde talking to Carew, then suddenly explode in a great flame of anger. He beats him with a heavy cane, just goes wild with ape-like fury, trampling him until his bones are audibly breaking.
Just pure, unrestrained savagery.
Utterly senseless. And the connection to Jekyll becomes undeniable almost immediately.
Because of the cane.
The murder weapon. It's a cane Utterson himself gave to Jekyll years before, broken in the attack.
Oh, no.
So Utterson leads the police. They find Hyde's rooms in Soho surprisingly luxurious, but completely ransacked. Ashes in the fireplace suggest documents were burned. And crucially, they find the other half of the broken cane.
The evidence is piling up, but there's another piece back at Jekyll's, isn't there? The letter.
The forged letter. This is a huge turning point for Utterson. Jekyll gives him a letter, supposedly written by Hyde, saying he's escaped and is safe. Jekyll seems relieved, maybe trying to close the case.
But Utterson is suspicious.
He takes it back to his office. His head clerk, a man named Guest, is a handwriting expert. Just by chance, Guest compares the signature on Hyde's letter to an invitation Jekyll had sent Utterson that same day.
Yeah.
The handwriting is strikingly similar. Guest notes, the two hands are in many points identical, only differently sloped.
Oh, wow. So Jekyll wrote Hyde's letter.
That's the horrifying conclusion Utterson jumps to. He locks the note away, thinking, Henry Jekyll's forged for a murderer. It's not just association anymore. It looks like active complicity, like forgery to protect a killer. The relationship is far darker than he imagined.
That must have shattered him, to think his friend.
It marks the real beginning of the end. After this, Jekyll kind of retreats, pulls back into total seclusion. But the first person to completely break under the strain isn't Jekyll or Utterson, it's Dr. Lanyon.
Jekyll's old friend and colleague, what happens to him?
Utterson goes to visit him and finds him dramatically changed. The book says he has a death warrant written legibly upon his face. He's pale, looks much older, physically wasted, and there's this deep terror in his eyes.
What caused it?
Lanyon says he's had a shock, a profound one, and he absolutely refuses to discuss Jekyll. Considers him dead, basically. Says he never wants to see or hear from him again.
What kind of shock could do that to a rational man of science like Lanyon?
Well, we find out later, don't we? It wasn't just seeing something horrible. It was seeing something that fundamentally broke his understanding of the world. His rigid, scientific worldview couldn't handle what he witnessed.
The mystic and the transcendental that Jekyll dabbled in
became terrifyingly real for Lanyon. It literally killed him from the inside out.
And Lanyon dies soon after, leaving Utterson another sealed envelope.
Yep, with that same ominous instruction not to be open to the death or disappearance of Dr. Henry Jekyll. That phrase just keeps haunting the narrative.
The possibility of disappearance being something other than death.
Exactly. And then weeks later, it all comes to a head. Poole, Jekyll's butler, shows up at Utterson's door late at night, completely panicked.
What's wrong?
He's convinced there's been foul play. He says the person locked in Jekyll's private cabinet, the laboratory, isn't his master. Poole is adamant. Master's made away with. That thing was not my master.
That thing? He doesn't even see it as human anymore.
No. And this thing is apparently desperate. Poole describes how it's been crying out constantly for a particular drug, a specific chemical salt, sending Poole all over London to chemists, trying to find a pure supply.
The samples keep getting rejected, right?
Poole brings back rejected samples and notes written by the figure inside. Desperate pleas. One note ends, "For God's sake, find me some of the old kind," implying the new supplies aren't working.
So this is about addiction now, a physical need for the original drug.
It seems like it. The transformation isn't just a choice anymore, it's a dependency. And then Poole drops the bombshell. He actually saw the figure inside for a split second.
What did he see?
He saw him without his mask. A small figure, a dwarf, wearing Jekyll's clothes, which were way too big for him.
Right.
Poole says the sight made his hair stand on end, sent ice down his spine. He recognized him.
It was Hyde.
It was Mr. Hyde, Poole exclaims. So Hyde is trapped in the lab, apparently unable to change back into Jekyll without that specific old drug.
Utterson realizes they have to break in.
Yes. They go to the lab door. It's quiet at first. Then they hear footsteps inside. Lightly and oddly, the text says. And then, weeping.
Weeping.
Yeah, like a woman or a lost soul. A truly chilling sound. Utterson calls out Jekyll's name.
And the voice that answers.
It's Hyde's voice, pleading, "For God's sake, have mercy." Utterson recognizes it instantly.
So they take an axe to the door.
They break it down, and the investigation phase is basically over. Inside, they find the body of Edward Hyde, dressed in Jekyll's large clothes, twisted up, clearly dead from poison. There's a crushed vial nearby, the smell of Colonel Cyanide.
But no Jekyll.
No sign of Dr. Jekyll at all, just Hyde's body.
Sure.
But they do find crucial documents.
Yeah.
A new will, this time leaving everything to Utterson, surprisingly, and a note from Jekyll. It instructs Utterson to read Lanyon's narrative first.
The one Lanyon left him.
Right. And then after that, to read Jekyll's own full statement and confession.
Finally, the explanations. Starting with what Lanyon saw.
Lanyon's narrative is gripping. He explains he got this frantic letter from Jekyll begging him to go to Jekyll's lab, break in, and retrieve a specific drawer. Inside were powders, a vial of red liquid, and a notebook.
What was in the notebook?
Just scientific entries, Lanyon says, but ending with notes like total failure and something about a double. Very ominous. Lanyon takes the drawer back to his own consulting room.
And then Hyde shows up.
At midnight. Agitated, pacing, wearing clothes ridiculously too big for him, clearly desperate. He asks Lanyon for the drawer. Then he mixes the powder with the red liquid.
And the potion changes color.
Dramatically. Lanyon describes it going from red to effervescent purple, and finally settling into a kind of watery green. Hyde asks Lanyon if he wants to watch or if he should leave. Lanyon, driven by scientific curiosity, stays.
And he witnesses the transformation.
He witnesses Hyde drink the mixture, cry out, stagger, clutch at the table, and then transform. The features melt and alter. Lanyon sees right before his eyes Edward Hyde become Dr. Henry Jekyll.
That must have been unimaginable, especially for a rationalist like Lanyon.
It shattered him. He says his life is shaken to its roots. He knows now that the creature Hyde was real, was the murderer of Carew, and that this impossible transformation is also real. That knowledge is what kills him.
The horror wasn't just moral, it was metaphysical. It broke his reality.
Exactly. And that sets the stage for Jekyll's own confession, the final piece.
So what's Jekyll's story? Why did he do it?
He explains his whole life felt like a profound duplicity. He had this respectable public side, but also these secret desires, these undignified pleasures he felt he had to hide. He longed for a way to separate them.
To live both lives without guilt or consequence.
Pretty much. His scientific research leaned towards the mystic and the transcendental, and led him to believe that man is not truly one, but truly two. The good and evil sides constantly struggling within.
So his goal was literally to separate them, to create two distinct beings.
Yes. He thought if he could house the evil impulses in a separate body, his original self Jekyll could pursue goodness without being tempted or dragged down, and Hyde could indulge freely without staining Jekyll's reputation.
A neat solution, in theory. How did the first transformation feel?
Horrific at first. He describes racking pangs, terrible nausea, a grinding of bones, like death itself. But then came this incredible feeling of relief, of youth, of lightness, recklessness, a solution of the bonds of obligation. He felt free, and he knew instantly that he was tenfold more wicked.
And that excited him.
It braced and delighted him like wine, he says. The sheer novelty and power of being pure evil was intoxicating.
So the balance shifted almost immediately. He started using Hyde as a disguise, an impenetrable mantle to do terrible things.
Yes, but then it started happening without the drug, spontaneously. He mentions waking up one morning in his own bed, but seeing Hyde's hand on the coverlet.
He was losing control. Hyde was getting stronger.
Exactly. The evil side, though smaller, was pure evil, unmixed with good, and it seemed to have more vitality, more drive. It was fighting for dominance.
And the Carew murder, how does he explain that?
He attributes it to Hyde's inherent nature. Hyde felt penned in after months of Jekyll trying to suppress him. When Jekyll finally gave in and transformed again, Hyde's pent-up evil exploded in that act of ape-like fury. There were no balancing instincts in Hyde, just pure malice.
After that, Jekyll genuinely tried to stop.
He says he did. For months, he threw himself into good works, trying to suppress Hyde forever. But the temptation, the craving, eventually returned. He took the potion again, and Hyde came back, seemingly even more vicious.
But the final catastrophe wasn't really about temptation, was it? It was something else.
It was purely chemical and deeply ironic. The original salt he used to make the potion started to run low.
And the new batches he ordered, the ones Poole kept fetching.
They didn't work. They were pure, chemically identical according to analysis, but they lacked something. The transformation failed. He was trapped increasingly as Hyde.
So what was the secret ingredient?
He finally realizes, in despair, it must have been some impurity in the original batch of salt, some unknown contaminant that, purely by accident, made the whole transformation possible.
Wait, so the entire discovery? The creation of Hyde? It was an accident, a fluke based on impure chemicals.
That's his final devastating conclusion. It was the unknown impurity which lent efficacy to the draft. His great scientific endeavor, his horrific success, wasn't genius. It was a mistake he could never replicate because he didn't even know what it was.
That is. Wow. The ultimate irony. Dr. Jekyll, the brilliant scientist, wasn't undone by hubris alone, but by a random chemical flaw in his materials.
His liberation, his damnation, it all hinged on an accident. And when he couldn't source that accidental impurity again, he was doomed, stuck as Hyde.
He writes the confession then, knowing the end is near.
Yes, he's using the very last dregs of the original potent powder to hold on to his Jekyll form long enough to write it all down. He knows that soon Hyde will take over permanently. Hyde, trapped in the cabinet, terrified of being caught, facing the gallows.
Leading to the suicide by poison, which Hyde presumably takes to escape capture, but maybe also as a final act against Jekyll.
It's ambiguous, but yes, it's a temporary suicide that becomes permanent for both of them.
So we followed this trail of clues, this descent from moral choice to chemical addiction to, finally, an inescapable accidental fate. It's quite a journey.
It really is a scientific experiment gone terribly wrong, fueled by a hidden flaw from the start.
But as we wrap this up, there's one last little detail from Jekyll's confession that really sticks out. It speaks volumes about the nature of Hyde's evil.
You mean the petty stuff?
Exactly. Jekyll mentions that Hyde hated him, Jekyll, intensely, and this hatred manifested in these bizarre, ape-like tricks. It wasn't just violence, it was spite.
Like what?
Like scrawling, blasphemies on the pages of my books, burning letters, destroying the portrait of Jekyll's father. Just small, mean acts of vandalism against the symbols of Jekyll's life.
Even when facing his own destruction.
Right. It makes you think, doesn't it? When this embodiment of pure evil knows the end is coming, why waste energy on petty spite? Why scribble in books or ruin a painting? What's the source of that final, almost childish, self-destructive rage that makes evil seem so pointlessly nasty sometimes?
That's a really interesting question to leave people with, the sheer pettiness of evil, even in the face of oblivion.
Definitely something to ponder from the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.